Okay, let me go ahead and give you a narrative of what you're seeing here. So, what I have is two stacked batteries, the EG4, 100 watt, 100 amp hour, 48 watt batteries. So a total of 10 kilowatt hours. On top of that is the EG4 6000 split phase inverter. So none of it's been activated yet, and this is just an initial setup. I'm not going to be going with this setup. Right now, everything is set in a what would be called a landscape wagon or a terrain wagon, and there's just not enough room. So I've only begun setting this up, and clearly it's not working. Here you can see the positive and negative bus bars. But there's so much more that needs to fit in here. So I need to fit in a Class T fuse, a smart shunt, uh, some other things, and there is just not enough room. So what we're going to end up doing is moving this to a different setup. And ignore the padding. I know it looks tacky. Right now, this is all temporary. The padding is what the EG4 inverter was shipped in by Signature Solar. So um, as you can see, and this is another inverter that I have, and get into that later. A battery charger, and so we're going to be moving this to a different setup that I think will work a lot better. So I'll be right with you. All right, so I'm getting this disassembled right now, and I just wanted to show you a couple more things. It's just how now these are 12-inch 1 AUG cables, and you can see how I don't know. They're just way too cramped. And then over here, I've already disconnected these positive terminals, but they were actually covering, as you can see, the shutoff breakers. So and that's kind of a dangerous thing, because if it needs to shut off because something went wrong, then it can't have anything in the way. So the cables might have prevented it from shutting off. So let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be putting all this on. Uh, this cart is by Vevor, Vevor, and it's pretty strong. I mean, it's 550 rated capacity, and it's got the casters with the brakes on it. So as far as the weight, it's going to handle it just fine. I already have the inverter transferred over, and the batteries will go underneath. And then what I'm looking to do is to go ahead and drill holes here and here that are going to that the cables are going to come up through and connect with the inverter. So that's where I'm at right now. So we're going to get everything transferred over to this cart, and I think it'll do a lot better than this landscape wagon. Okay, so sun's beginning to rise a little bit, as you can see. It's starting to get in my eyes and starting to heat up a bit. But I just want to give you an update on where we are. So I got the batteries put in and secured by a ratchet strap. And as you can see, they're sitting on top of each other. Got the padding in between. So just because I feel it's necessary, and also padding underneath the bottom battery there because I wanted to get it up just a little bit higher. What we're going to be able to do, I won't even have to drill holes through um, through the top here. What I'm going to be able to do is install the positive and negative bus bars right here, and then run the wires from there. And I'm glad I have a lot of room here because before the wires get into the inverter or connect with the inverter, like I said, they got to go through a spark shunt. I'm going to put a fuse on it. So it's going to go through a couple of things um, on the positive and negative side before we hook it up to the inverter. So that's where we're at right now. So far, the cart is holding up like a champ. It seems to be very, very sturdy. With any luck, we'll be able to fit that other inverter. So let me go ahead and show you just because I didn't get a chance. So what I have here is a secondary system, and that is a 1,000 watt pure sine wave inverter that I bought at a truck stop for 99 bucks. Couldn't pass it up. And it's going to be hooked up to this. So what I have here is a Power Queen 12 volt 200 amp hour battery, and it's heavy too. But I think it's going to be able to fit just nicely in the cart here, and the inverter right on top of it. So we'll be able to have a primary and a secondary power system. So that's where we're at right now. Uh, this is my first time building anything on YouTube. So I'm excited. Obviously, I'm coming off like an amateur, but that's kind of the name of the show. But I am really looking forward to all of this, and it's quite exciting. So right now I'm at my storage unit, so I'm actually homeless technically. I'm no longer driving the truck. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and build this, and I'll keep you informed every step of the way. Okay, so I got the negative and positive bus bars hooked up to the cart, bolted in nice and tight. So here's the plan. What we're going to be using is this is a 2-aug cable. Okay, so each battery is going to have a 2-aug cable going from the battery to the bus bar, and then from there we're going to be using 1-aug cable going from the bus bar to the inverter here. Reason we're doing that is because it's only necessary. Now each battery is 100 amp hours, 48 volt 100 amp hours. Two 2-aug cable is going to be just fine for that for each individual battery. Once they're combined, then we're talking about 200 amp hours amps, and did I keep saying amp hours? Okay, 200 amps, and I'm gonna, and that's where we're gonna use the 1-aug cable for the to bring the 200 amps to the battery. But there's a couple of other steps, so we're going to run it through a fuse and all that good stuff. So that's where we're at right now. Again, this is safe because I'm going to show you right here. As you can see, both the breakers are off. So I'm not putting myself in danger in any way. Still going. All right. Now, I don't know if these have to go on the bus bar in any particular order. I really don't think so. My thinking is because I have a lot more slack in this cable, I'm going to put it over here on the end, and then these middle ones will be used to run the 1/0 cable to the inverter. So flat washer, split washer, and securing nut. So it's starting to look more and more like a power station. Oh. Aha, 14 millimeter wrench. Okay, that's it. It's hard to do this one-handed with the camera, but okay, pop on the positive. I mean, these cables are just long enough to reach. I mean, that's impressive. That tells me God is on my side here. Screw that in tight. 14 millimeter. I don't have to worry about arcing. I know that's dangerously close to the negative there because, as I said, breakers are off. Although it's always something to keep in mind. Even if you have the breakers off, you got to keep in mind that there's a lot of juice in this, and there's a lot of danger if you're not paying attention. Okay, getting the last cable in here. 14 millimeter wrench to tighten it down. These YouTubers are not joking when they tell you how hard it is to film and work at the same time and how it increases the time, but it's worth it. I really have a passion for documenting every step of this journey. So what we have here is a parallel configuration. So by having both negatives into one bus bar, both positives into one bus bar, what we're doing is we're combining the wattage but not the voltage. The voltage stays the same. So it's going to continue to be 48 volts, which is good because this is a 48 volt system here. And so yeah, that's where we're at right now, and I will go ahead and let you know when we're ready for the next step. Okay, so what we also have here, this is a battery shutoff, and I don't think I'm going to put it in now. I believe I bought these before I bought the system here, the EG4 batteries and inverter. Um, because with the batteries, you already have the shutoffs, and I know that the cable here looks like it's covering the shutoff. I guarantee you, there's plenty of room for it to go up and down. So there's a slack here in the cable. It's not going to interfere with that in any way. But the shutoffs are already built into the batteries. So why the extra step of a battery shutoff? So I think I did buy this before I bought the system. So it may turn out that I don't need this. I might go ahead and use this when I run the solar array through this and use this as a solar panel shutoff instead. So we won't install this for now. I'm trying to get as much of this as I possibly can. Like I said, I have a camera one-handed. I have a head thing that the camera goes on, um, and if you see from the footage, it doesn't actually work all that well because it's not exactly looking at what I'm working on. So I'm not sure what I did with that screw. But anyway, I'm removing the cover here for the inverter because that's how we're going to hook up the cables. I can't find my fuse. Ideally, we're near an airport here, so gonna get this every now and then. There's. I did the wrong screw. Okay, I got to put that back. Not paying attention here. As you can see, the sun's coming up. All right, let's put this back. I was wondering why it wasn't popping off. All right, let's get off the right screw. Now, the reason this has to be taken off is to expose the terminals that the cable is going to be hooking to. What I was saying about the Class T fuse is I can't find it right now. May not really be necessary to do that at this point. Eventually I'm going to want to hook up a system that has the fuse. But right now I'm going to have to go on without it. So what we have right here inside the EG4 6000 watt split phase inverter here, that's the positive and negative terminals. If you look really closely, see battery positive and battery negative. And so we're going to go ahead and hook those up. Okay, and this is a 14 millimeter, by the way. I'm not sure if there's a torque specification, so I'm going to be really careful here and just put it on snug. Okay, so this is not going into an RV, so I don't have to worry about these things rattling apart. Okay, so that's a positive. I'm going to go ahead and work on the negative now. All right, negative cable. Goes through this. As you can see here, there's cutouts, and so that's how it gets through. But it's got to get it over the stud there. It's exciting. Feels like I'm making progress. Okay, again, I'm going to be very careful here, just snug. I don't even have a torque wrench, so it's one thing I'm going to need to get for future projects. I know that on some things, torque specification is extremely important. So, like I said, I'm just being very careful and making it just snug so that it's definitely a little more than finger tight, but that's it. Okay, so there's the positive and negative hooked into the inverter. Okay, so I'm hooking this up to the bus bar. So again, like I said before, this is 2 cables going into the bus bar, 1 going out of the bus bar, and that's just because I don't believe it's necessary to have any more than 2 going directly from the batteries, because for each battery, we're talking about 100 amps. But once in the bus bar, then that's 200 amps going from the bus bar to the inverter. Okay, so that's negative. And I don't, because the shutoffs are, because the batteries are shut off, I'm not going to have to worry about a big rush of in current. And so without that shutoff, you would want to have something called, I'm going to show you here. Okay, these are pre-charge resistors. So as you can see here, now these will you go ahead and fold these out. And what they do is they slow down the rush of current so that when you're charging the capacitors in your inverter, you're not going to have that. Basically, you're not going to have that spark, that rush of current. So this I'm going to be using for when I hook up my secondary system. For right now, it's not necessary, but if you don't have shutoffs like that, then you'll want to use something like this before you make the final connection, either positive or negative, between the batteries and the inverter. Okay, sorry if the camera's not capturing everything.
got to look at what I'm doing and look at the camera screen at the same time. So a little bit challenging. Why don't I get a tripod? Well, I will eventually. Believe it or not, I just went ahead and ran it across really quick just to be sure, even though I know there's not going to be a spark. It's just one of those things. When you hook up enough batteries, you develop this paranoia. Okay, so flat washer, split washer, and nut. All right, so there we are. That's everything is hooked up. We're ready to go ahead and flip the switches and turn on the batteries. What I'm not going to do is flip the switches and turn on the batteries, and the reason is because I have no idea if that's exactly the next step or if we need to hook up the communication cables first and set the set the battery priority. So basically, when you have more than one battery, one of them has to be the primary, and then the secondary, and then third, fourth, and so on. And there's switches that set that priority. So anyway, what I'm going to do is stop for the day, and it's important to know when you've done all you can for for the day, or at least for a time. I'm going to go ahead, go online, do some more research, see what the next step is going to be before I flip on the batteries and send power to the inverter for the first time. So I want to be very careful with all this. Thank you very much, and I'll be right back. All right, so I did hit a snag on this, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to proceed any further with this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean. Everything's hooked up. When I turn on the breakers, I've already tested all of these, and they show 51 volts all the way at every point of connection, including the terminals here where they go into the inverter. And so what we get here, it says error code 57. Does that for a few seconds, and then shuts off. And there's when you look up error code 57 in the manual, it says that there's internal damage going on inside of this, and so I should say we, I noted damage when it was shipped, as noted on these feet right here. You can see where it's kind of chipped off where it was allowed to hit things. So there might have been some component damage inside because of how it was shipped, and so the only thing that can be done is to return this. In the meantime, I did go ahead and hook up my secondary inverter. So this is my 1,000-watt pure sine wave inverter hooked into my Power Queen
12.8 volt, 200 amp hour battery. Works just great. Let me show you here. If I can turn it on. There we go. Press and hold. Shows it as 13 volts. So so for right now, this is what I have in for power. But I also, of course, have the Blue Eddy. Let me show you the Blue Eddy here. Okay, and bring it out. All right, before I do anything else, let me go ahead and turn off the batteries so I know that that's turned off. Okay, and this is the Blue Eddy AC180, which I got, and so it's going to be supplying a lot of the power until I get my inverter replaced. And I've already tested this out, and so when I first got it, I was in a hotel room. I grabbed the hair dryer and I grabbed the iron, tested it out. Let me turn this on here. Tested it out, and it performed brilliantly. The hair dryer went up to 1600 watts on high. The iron was at 1100 watts, and it kept switching on and off. So cycling on and off depending on what setting you had it at. But it went no higher than 1100 watts. Handled it just fine. So I would at some point like to do a more in-depth review on the Blue Eddy. I do like it. I find that that it lives up to its everything that it's claimed to be. So I'm really excited about the Blue Eddy and having it out with me, because when I start running things, I'm not going to have the same battery capacity, because unfortunately this setup is just, I need to get that fixed. But I do have my generator, I do have my solar panels, and so we're going to make it work.